Africa. And this is a program implemented by, of course, a lot of development agencies, but we're looking at their implementation by the German Agency for Infrastructure Development, for example. This initiative aims to strengthen local authorities in the region, that is sub-Saharan Africa, helping them to design and implement sustainable energy and climate-related projects. The Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa, for example, works majorly with local governments in sub-Saharan Africa. So it started in 2015. It's a part of the Global Covenant of Mayors. The Global Covenant of Mayors is an initiative that helps governments all over the world in their fight against climate change, and it's available in almost all countries in the world. For the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa, it's a major catalyst for local climate action in sub-Saharan Africa. And then there's political commitment from over 300 local governments in sub-Saharan Africa as of today that have signed up to the covenant, and to see how the initiative can help them tackle infrastructure deficit. It's an EU initiative, and the COMSA, of course, is the regional chapter of the Global Covenant of Mayors. So now let's look at why why we need to work on energy and climate, for example, infrastructure. We're looking at energy infrastructure, for example, in Africa. We know that by 2050, Africa's urban population will triple, and it will be the second largest urban population in the world. And that's something we need to really, really consider, because, I mean, we're going to be faced by the effects of this. And despite it being the continent, it's affected mostly by the climate change. We find out that, and it only contributes just 4% to global greenhouse gases, and 3%, only 3% of general climate finance comes to Africa. That's very, very, very sad. I mean, we're not contributing anything to climate change. We're not doing anything, and then there's no finance coming to us for climate infrastructure and all of that. And then looking at Africa, currently we have about 548 million people lacking access to electricity. So we'll look at case studies, two case studies of the works of the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa in Abuja. We're looking at waste, and we're going to be looking at energy. So COMSA helps, for example, cities here in Africa. Like at the moment, they're supporting the city of Abuja with capacity building. And to do this, COMSA is carrying out trainings, learnings, knowledge sharing, mentoring and stuff like that. They also develop tailored courses for the city of Abuja, for example, Abuja Municipal Area Council. Just like many sub-Saharan African cities have little experience with external funding. And of course, when you go to the bank, you talk with a bank who want to develop XYZ type of infrastructure asset as a local government, no going to readily fund or finance such a project because of the risks involved with sub-Saharan African cities lack creditworthiness. So one of the things COMSA is trying to do is to see how we can improve the creditworthiness or the credit rating of sub-Saharan African cities. And one of the ways they are going about this is by conducting trainings on climate finance and project development. They're also conducting trainings on how to develop projects, basically bankable projects, which can be taken to the bank and can attract finance. And then generally trying to help them with sensitization, help them reach out to a very, very wide network of partners that can finance some of their projects. Yeah, so we'll be looking at urban smart energy. Like I said, 548 million Africans lack access to energy, and that's very, very sad. So we're looking at, let's just look at how the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa helps, or is helping the city of Abuja to tackle its energy challenges. So the urban smart energy is a standardized source for implementation of decentralized energy systems and energy efficiency measures on city-owned sites. So basically developing energy on sites, not off-sites. And then one of the ways we're doing this is we support the city of Abuja with technical and economic assessments to identify viable project development. One of the challenges we face in sub-Saharan Africa, and even generally in terms of project finance, is that we don't do a lot of project development. We just jump basically to implementation, and that's why most projects fail in Africa. You don't plan, you don't carry out critical assessments of things that are necessary. So for the Covenant of Mayors, they carry out technical, economic, and legal assessments on a lot of things and guide the government. And then, of course, they give legal support, and then they also boost cooperation between the local government administration, that is AMAC here, and private sector for project realization, that is people like investors, people that can finance such projects. So for the Urban Smart Energy, the target majorly is public infrastructure owned by the city. So looking at like schools, offices, hospitals, markets, and stuff like that. And then what we do for them is we assess, we carry out technical, economic, and legal feasibility studies on all of this. And then we mostly consider rooftop mounted solar panels, solar systems, basically. And our support in this for this urban smart energy is 8 steps. Before we carry out support for any city, case of Abuja, for example, number one, we discuss with the city, we approach them, and then we sign we seek approval from them. We discuss and make them understand this. That is, of course, after being a signatory to the initiative. We sign agreements with them, MOUs, that we want to carry out such studies so that we don't do anything at anybody's back. So everybody's aware, because it has to be a transparent system. Of course, it's a transparent system. So we do a desktop assessment of potential sites. Secondly, as COMSA, we do a desktop assessment. So we look at your sites on our computer. That's what we mean by desktop assessment. We look at them. Oh, you need to look at this hospital is good. And AMAC, for example, says, oh, we want to take this hospital off grid, or want to take this school, or want to take this office, for example, off grid and stuff like that. And then we do technical evaluation for them. So we visit the sites, do a lot of technical evaluation. So we go there, we look at the roofs. For example, if we want to use a solar rooftop mounted solar system. So we look at the trusses, we make sure that the trusses are in good condition. We look at the electrical wiring system. We have to make sure that the wiring is good, because these are the things that, this is part of due diligence. This is what every bank is going to look out for before they finance a project. Nobody's going to put money, investors' money, in a project where tomorrow the building is going to be on fire because you have poor electrical systems, or where your roof trusses are collapsed. You don't use adequate members for your roof trusses. We also carry out economic assessment of the site. So after measuring, carrying out, doing all the technical assessment, we have to make sure that this thing is economically viable. I mean, we have to make sure that, of course, it's cheaper than whatever means you were using before. We have to make sure it's affordable. You understand? And then in cases where maybe there's a need, but of course we've not had that, maybe viability gap funding, we have to look at all of that, make sure that it's bankable, literally here. Even some size and stuff like that. Then after this whole process, we'll present our results to the local governments, and then we go into the tendering processes. And then the tendering process, of course, at this process, we look at the procurement method for that infrastructure asset. Are we going with the traditional EPC, engineering procurement contract? Are we going with a public-private partnership, as a public power purchase agreement, for example? We need to look at that. We advise this government on what we think is the best for them. And then we look at it also with their own team of experts. Of course, they already have some experience in that. And then we go through the tendering process with them. We get our technical people, get all the legal, everybody. We go out all of that together. At the end of these things, we sign a PPA, for example, PPA agreement, if that's what they use. So, of course, AMAC prefers, and many local governments all over the world will prefer a PPA. That's a power purchase agreement. And we'll look at why that is better than an EPC in terms of procuring infrastructure assets. Then, of course, we also support the local government with project implementation, monitoring, and evaluation to make sure that everything is good. Because one of the major, another challenge when we develop infrastructure assets in Africa is the O&M, the operational maintenance part. So you find out that you have a very, very good project, but during the O&M, things get bad. Like if we're taking the case study of the railway in Abuja Kaduna Railway, I was reading the news of how people are removing some parts of the track. I mean, this is a topic for another day because it's just, I mean, improving the resilience of this infrastructure assets to all this rubbish. I mean, it's just going to cost you probably, from studies, it costs you probably just 1% extra to protect this infrastructure asset against that nonsense. But that says that, I mean, was not adequate preparation in structuring that whole deal. Because if there was adequate project preparation, I mean, you should have looked at all the risks when you're doing your stakeholder engagement, your stakeholder mapping, your risk assessment. You should have taken note of all of those things and then look for ways to incorporate that into your contract. Yeah. So for like our steps 1 and 2, we get the government, as AMAC, to share their 1-year power utility bills with us. They give us a list of sites that they have, and of course, they have to give us proof of ownership because we don't want to get into any legal tussle with anybody. Coming back to say, no, this building doesn't belong to, for example, AMAC, it belongs to maybe FCTA or FCDA or something. And then, of course, they give us access to their sites to carry out our measurements. And then we also support that we look at how we go about tendering at that stage of the tendering. That is at stage 6. When we get to the tendering, is it via newspapers and stuff. They will also guide the whole procurement process and negotiation processes. And then we supervise the projects for them to make sure that they adhere to local regulations. So we work, of course, with all the government agencies here. This is just basically the same thing, just explaining how we go about what we do. So I'll just talk basically about the benefits of this urban smart energy program or product to local government. So first of all, it makes it easy for the government to access the electricity load data for 2 years. So when we carry out our technical assessment, when we measure the loads, we give them access to it for 2 years so that they even understand their consumption pattern, because they might want to use this maybe after that period of time, within that period of time, to attract investment to take some of their buildings off grid. We also give them a provision of a summary of our technical and economic assessments and the energy efficiency measures that they can also use. We also help them with the establishment of financial structures. So we hook them up with investors generally. And then, of course, from the city, we don't collect anything from them. There's no upfront investment or anything required from the city. So, I mean, this is free for the city, and it's like a win-win for any city that signs up to this kind of initiative. Of course, some of the challenges, this doesn't go without challenges. Data collection is quite challenging. I mean, when you talk with the city and say, oh, you have a list of sites, these are your buildings, and then where's this building located? And this is the city mayor tells you, or the city tells you, oh, we don't even know where that building is. And then you, trying to develop a project that you have to start driving around to that location, trying to look for where the building is located and stuff like that. I mean, that's a very, very serious challenge faced by not even only AMAC, but I mean by local governments generally in Sub-Saharan Africa. And then, you don't have a central system of paying bills. So sometimes you go to buildings and they tell you, oh, we don't even have NEPA bill. We've not paid NEPA bill in 1 year. Or, oh, we just paid one person. We paid them 100,000 when they came to meet us, and then they just let us off the hook. I mean, a lot of those issues happen. So it's not very easy to even like study their patterns, how they like consume electricity. We'll do a second study on waste management in the city of Abuja. Waste is a challenge faced by the city of Abuja, and then we're also trying to help them tackle that challenge. So last year, July 2022, of course, we started in 2021, we developed what we call a CCAP, a Sustainable Energy Access and Climate Action Plan with the city of Abuja. This plan basically helps them set their targets and standards for climate change, what the goals they want to meet in terms of tackling climate change. That's just a summary of the document. And of course, this document also helps them attract finance from international development partners, because when you go to an international development partner, nobody's going to just give you any money and say, go and do this. They want to see a document that properly and clearly states that you have XYZ challenges because you have followed XYZ procedures to carry out studies to identify such challenges. So we've done that for the city of Abuja. And then, so last year they identified waste as one of their challenges. And then what the city plans to do is to raise awareness, doing campaigns. They want to construct treatment plants. They want to strengthen law enforcement of waste disposal and implement waste to wealth programs. But I mean, that is a very, very good target to set by any city. But if you don't have, like I said, proper project preparation for these kind of things, you find out that, yes, you go ahead with all of these things, no plan, and eventually it's going to fail, which is what has been happening with most African cities. I mean, everybody knows that we shouldn't be throwing waste on the floor. We should be recycling or sorting waste, but nobody does all of these things because there's no process to all of these things. So we are currently helping the city with this. And then sometime in April this year, okay, so it's from January this year, COMSA, the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa, in collaboration with the African Center for Cities, carried out a rapid assessment on the issues of waste in the city of Abuja. And then we tried to just identify the issues on the surface. And then after that, we had a workshop where we got the academia together with the government and yes, I mean government agencies in charge of waste and the city of Abuja itself together in a room. Of course, this was the first time we're having such because we found out that most times the government just talks amongst themselves, but nobody gets the academia involved when it comes to tackling infrastructure challenges. There's a lot of research being done in the schools, and then we just dump them in the libraries or some journals, and that's the end of it. But there's a lot of recommendation we get from those journals and stuff. So it's very, very important that when you're trying to tackle infrastructure challenges, we get the academia also actively involved, So we did that. And then eventually we found out that we had challenges with waste governance, which we needed to tackle. So this just shows how we're going about it. So we have challenges, of course. We looked at 3 major challenges. We looked at waste governance, we looked at landfill management and specialized waste handling as some of our challenges. And then for this, we decided to run a process called an urban lab. Now, urban labs or an urban lab is a temporary or permanent maybe group of people or think tank, like comprising of, let's say, the government, academia, civil society, private sector, that come together to solve urban issues related to urban challenges. So we're trying to run an urban lab to tackle the issues of waste in the city of Abuja, that is AMAC particularly. And then, of course, we are looking at some possible solutions at the end of this whole process, which will take us about 1 year. I mean, if you look at that process now, you're looking at a 1-year process to try and get everybody together to tackle an issue of waste in Abuja. That shows how much time international development partners put into project preparation, project development, just in supporting the city. And this is something that we need to look at also as how we can, in terms of project preparation, project development, how we do these things very, very well. So we might come up with waste governance management systems, we might come up with recovery plans and improved landfill management systems. So of course, this process we've been able to stakeholder engagement plan, stakeholder mapping is very, very robust. We make sure that everybody is involved so that by the time these things come up, everybody feels like they're part or they own a part of this whole process. I mean, you don't feel like, oh, this stuff belongs to the government, so I shouldn't take care of it. But everybody feels like, oh, this is our thing, so we should take care of whatever stuff comes out of this. And of course, it improves trust amongst the local communities. Yeah. So in conclusion, international development partners, exemplified by the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa, play a vital role in infrastructure development from what we've seen, because by the time they do all of this stuff, all these studies and back to the government, that is to the local government, it helps them attract finance. So you can attract international finance with the help of international development partners. Their efforts in providing technical expertise, capacity development, policy advice to infrastructure and generally improves well-being and reduces poverty because it's going to reduce the loss of lives. And then finally, by promoting sustainable and inclusive infrastructure, embracing innovation, and ensuring effective project evaluation, these partners contribute to global infrastructure development and sustainable development goals. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Architect Toyib, for that very wonderful presentation. I believe there are a lot of takeaways from his presentation. For those who are crying of how do we fund infrastructure development in Africa, he has offered us a pathway that you can follow to engage the international aid agencies to support infrastructure development. He has showed us the case studies of what GIZ in collaboration with COMSA is doing for the city of Abuja. And I believe other countries' local government could also plug into this initiative and get some funding to develop infrastructure. Once again, thank you very much for that very incisive and wonderful presentation. So without wasting any further time, I'm going to invite the list of discussants that we have so that, I don't know, there are 3 of them. Can we, 3 of them? Okay, maybe we'll just invite them one after the other to come and just offer their perspective on the whole discussion we have had from yesterday till today. And they're going to do that in 5 minutes each before we go to the next order. And first online is Engineer Professor Al-Hassan Hashim Mohammed, FNSE, FNICE. You have 5 minutes, sir. I know that you are from the academia. I know when professors stand to talk, sometimes they get carried away by their passions. So please, let's keep to time so that we can wrap up this event as scheduled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mambo, for the opportunity to discuss the presentations that we've had since yesterday. First of all, distinguished members, I would like to stand on an existing protocol as established. I won't waste too much time on yesterday's papers because I gave an overview of them in today's opening day 2. So I wouldn't like to dwell much. I would rather want to go straight to the 2 presentations this morning, one on climate change and the other one on how to partner with international donor agencies in infrastructure development. Quite obviously, climate change is causing widespread, rapid and intensifying changes in the weather, and climate extremes in every region across the globe, which pose significant challenges and risks to infrastructure systems, such as transportation, energy, water, communication, and so on. Infrastructure systems are designed and built to withstand certain environmental conditions and loads, but climate change can alter or exceed these assumptions, leading to reduce performance, increase maintenance costs, and even failure. Engineers have a vital role to play in helping the world adapt to climate systems, which is the ability to anticipate, absorb, adapt to, and recover from the effects of climate hazards. Resilience can be achieved by using various engineering strategies, such as incorporating climate projections and scenarios into design standards and codes, applying risk-based and adaptive approaches to infrastructure planning and management, using innovative technologies and materials to improve efficiency and durability, and integrating natural or green infrastructure solutions to reduce environmental impacts. Engineers also have a role to play in mitigating climate change by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions from emissions. This can be done by using renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, promoting low carbon transportation modes, and implementing circular economy principles. All these have been properly enunciated in the presentation by our brother from Ghana, Engineer Joseph Ode. But there are other issues that I want to add to that, especially on what engineers need to do. Clearly, we understand the impacts of climate change. And like I've said, what we need to do is, how do we incorporate this in design such that the impacts of climate change can be mitigated? I would like to give a few examples. For example, transportation is mentioned as one of the areas that contributes to climate change or greenhouse emissions. And we all know we use 60-70 bitumen in our wearing courses. And the point is, if the temperature rises above normal, how does 60-70 asphalt mix behave? Will it stand or will it flow? Those are the impacts we would like to actually have, to be able to see whether we need to even change 60-70 to another bitumen type, maybe 50-60, which will be a little harder and therefore can withstand increase in temperature, and so on and so forth. So we need to go straight to the point to see how much of temperature increase will enable our roads to stand the impacts of climate change. Another example is in the area of water resources. You have a culvert, for example, and you design it to withstand a return period, a flood return period of, let's say, 10 years. Of course, we know the impact of climate change. Extreme conditions, extreme wetness, extreme dryness. So given the location of your culvert, how much water can it convey? Can it allow to pass through? Will your culvert be standing dry throughout the year because of the impact of climate change? Or will it be submerged because of increasing wetness as a result of the impact of climate change? So we need to factor in the impact of climate change in the design of the culvert. The same applies to the dams and other water systems that we use. Even in buildings, with increase in temperature, are we going to change the sizes of our doors and windows? or will they remain the same, or are we going to make them smaller? I think these are the specific areas that we need to dwell on, so that when we do designs, we are designing them to withstand the impact of climate change. Our brother here said the capital inflow into Africa, that is climate funds coming into Africa, is just about 3%. That is to be expected, because while we contribute to the impact of climate change or greenhouse emissions, of course, the Western world is the biggest culprit, and therefore they should pay more to the impact of climate change. Unfortunately, they want to pass the bulk to African countries to shoulder the cost of climate change. And that's why I like the position of, taking it already? Okay. So that's why I like the position of our brother from Liberia. We should be careful when we are going into taking loans, because there may be traps there. The industries that are in Africa and elsewhere are not cited in developed countries because they have anticipated this, and they cite them in Africa and they want us to pay for it. And that's why the climate change conference is always followed with a lot of disagreements. We are not able to come to agreement on the way forward on how to pay for the impact of climate change. Okay, that's that for this paper. The next paper is on adapting to, the role of international development partners in infrastructural development. Quite obviously, international development partners are organizations that provide financial, technical, and policy support to developing countries for their infrastructure development. And of course, if you look at it again from the position of wholly owned government infrastructure and wholly owned private sector infrastructure, you will find out there's a palette of models that different countries can adapt to suit their purpose for infrastructure development. So this paper is in order. It has given us a variety of options that we can use to partner with donor agencies for infrastructure development. The issue on COMSA is actually probably its own perception, or is promoting an agency that is partnering with AMAC to develop or manage waste management and provide alternative energy systems for Abuja metropolitan area. So all these are already well-known areas in terms of availability of funding from development partners. What we need to do is to carefully look into the models. Which models have succeeded? Why have other countries succeeded and we have not? In spite of the fact that they also go for these funding from development partners. They have succeeded, but we have not been able to succeed. So if we can look critically, we can select models that work for us, and then we can be able to use that to cut the deficit in infrastructure. So I think I will stop here because I've already used my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof.
Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM.
Thank you very much.
Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Yeah. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream.
Our chief host and the resource persons that made out time to give us these quality lectures. Let me start by saying that the American Society of Civil Engineers actually got it right when they said that civil engineering enhances the quality of life. And we cannot talk about the quality of life without considering infrastructure, because infrastructure contributes greatly to the ease of doing business. And when doing business is made easy, the quality of life is directly impacted. The criteria for impacting this quality of life has been established, and they include things like the earning power of the individual, the educational opportunities available to the people, and then longevity. Life in Africa is just like the Hubeian circle, which, permit me to say, is brutish and then short. What with the average lifespan of 53 years in Nigeria. And other African countries have not even fared better. So, because of this, there is no doubt that we need to improve the infrastructure. the gaps that we have in our various infrastructures need to be closed. And that's why I am going to talk generally on all the papers that have been delivered so far. Number one, what do you say to a world where there are no civil engineers? I mean, it's unimaginable. A profession such as so crucial as civil engineering must never be allowed to go extinct. And that's why we all need to be advocates of this profession, wherever we are and wherever we are coming from. What is the essence? We need to make sure that the numbers continue to increase. Generally, I noted that in a country such as ours, Nigeria, the number of engineers we have registered by current is virtually the number of engineers that China turns out in 1 year. They turn out over 6,000 engineers yearly, while in our register we have just, I'm not sure it's up to 7,000 now, maybe, but I know it's hovering within that range. So no doubt that there are shortages. And we are talking of all engineering, by the way. By the time you trim it down to civil engineers, who are virtually responsible for over 80% of the infrastructure, you know that a lot more work needs to be done. So that advocacy is very, very important. And then we must use the in-house resources. Our people must be used to develop Africa. What is the use? Throwing out all the jobs to outsiders, so to say. It can only cause continuous damage to the development of the African engineer. Our bigger projects have to be given to our people. We have to challenge them to make sure that they develop along the line. We all know that engineering is a course where experience matters. So, and when you are challenged, you tend to bring out your best to make sure that the challenges are solved. So we need to challenge our people with the big projects, the mega projects around, so that they also develop along the line. African economy, no doubt, is hindered greatly by lack of infrastructure. And if Africa, with a population of sub-Saharan Africa, with a population of about 1.1 billion, which I equate to China, is generating the level of power that Spain, with only 45 million, is generating, then a lot more work needs to be done. I noted that it is not just challenges that are there, but that poses opportunities for civil engineers to tap in. In one of the papers that were presented on climate change, we saw the advantages that it could also bring in. Carbon accounting is a little head of in this part of the world. And these are the things we need to begin to do. We need to decarbonize our construction methods. And these are new areas in this continent that we can tap into to provide jobs, even for our people. There is also need for well-defined infrastructure programs. For example, people are scared in this part of the world in going into PPP projects. Instability in government, lack of proper policies guiding PPP, they make investors afraid of going into it, whereas it is an opportunity that could easily be exploited to develop the continent. Therefore, there has to be well-defined well-defined policies that will guide the PPP models of infrastructure project development. The multilateral and bilateral institutions, to me, good as they are, I see the fact that you saw the 8 steps reeled out by one of the bilateral agencies. And that is to tell you the difficulty in tapping into that particular finance. I'm not saying it to discourage us, but then it's not bread and butter. So I believe that if we could develop the models of the public-private partnership, they come in as very handy tools in developing Africa. I think that a lot of investors are very ready if only the policy match the models of the PPP so that we use it to develop the continent even much more. And also the use of technology that could enhance speed and accuracy in our project development. Projects are bound by time. And when a project is quickly concluded, the consumption, the use of that particular project that could bring the desired benefits is also tapped into much quicker. So technology is actually very imperative if we must do better in developing Africa. And then our government, little as the budgets thinning down as they are, we must spend money on projects to boost the money that is in the hand of people. Then also, apart from safety and serviceability considerations, sustainability is a word that has come to be by virtue of UN Sustainable Development Goals. So designs such as circular economy, in which safety considerations, serviceability considerations, and sustainability are key, will make our infrastructure not just to benefit the present generation, but even future generations. I also want to remind us that the green construction is also one technique that can also be used, not just to lower carbon, but also to reduce costs that we employ on infrastructure development. On this note, I want to say that this summit has given us tools as engineers to handle our projects in a more optimal manner. And when we do that, Africa can only but benefit much more from it. I want to thank you for listening to me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I am told that Engineer Martin Manuhua is online now and is ready to join us all the way from Zimbabwe to present his paper. So media, over to you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Very good afternoon or morning, wherever we are coming from. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. My presentation is basically going to speak to a lot of ideas that have been presented from here, and I'm very happy that my job is very easy. Can you hear me?
We can hear
you. Can
you.
you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I will proceed on the assumption that you are all
Challenges of infrastructure.
Can you please unmute so that everyone can hear you? We are not saying.
Go ahead.
Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Yeah. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy.
Because we are living in Europe, some people think we do as the Romans do. Because we are living in Europe, the hypocrites think we do know what we're doing better.
And as we all know, the continental representative for Africa having their first regional summit of the World Civil Council of Civil of Engineering. The regional summit of the World Council of Civil Engineers. The theme of this year is infrastructure deficit and the challenges of development in sub-Sahara Africa. And this is the second of this program taking place here as International Conference Center here live in Abuja. And we are trying to hear from experts that comes from various, the far and near of this country, Nigeria and Africa, to attend this year Summit 2022. And with me, we have one of the leadership of this engineering, which we may try to know. Sir, can we meet you and our audience, sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Saidu Hassan, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Nigerian Institution of Civil Highway and Transportation Engineers. I'm the national chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Highway and Transportation Engineers.
Sir, knowing fully what is going on now in Chilean, which is a first of its kind in Africa, gathering Africans together to talk about their infrastructure deficit in Nigeria and Africa, what do you think this program will yield after the end of this summit?
Thank you very much. I want to say it gladdens my heart that at least today in Nigeria we're hosting this summit, because this is the first of its kind that we're hosting here in Nigeria, the World Council of Civil Engineers, the regional summit for the deficit of infrastructure in the sub-Saharan Africa. And we're making a lot of strive as the engineering family. Very soon this year, we will also host the president of the Federation of Engineers of the whole world here in Nigeria, you know, who is our own. And so it's a very, very good things and good tidings coming for engineering. As for this summit, it's very important because infrastructure is the backbone of every economy. Because without infrastructure, you can hardly do anything. Because infrastructure involves the facilities you require to carry out your daily functions for your own living standard. Is it your road? Is it your water? Is it your housing? In fact, so many, including all these things require infrastructure for them to function. So it's the backbone of every economy. And we have a lot of deficit here in Africa. And that's why we say it's important for us to have such a conference to see how this can be improved, how we can have the infrastructure we all yearn to be if we go outside Nigeria.
Sir, you will introduce yourself to our listeners across the globe.
I am Engineer Dr. Bola Mudashiru, Fellow of Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineer, also Fellow of Nigerian Society of Engineer, and Fellow of Nigerian Institution of Highway Transport Engineer. And I'm also the National Secretary General and one of the members of this committee that we have the World Council of Civil Engineers. I'm part of the Summit Planning Committee.
Sir, how do you think this summit will be effective to the rural people?
Of course, like you rightly hear from Engineer Saidu Hassan, it basically makes us understand that when you talk about infrastructure, it talks about facilities and services that will render from the water you drink, the roads, your bridges, and all the rest. Of course, if you're connecting the rural to the urban, you definitely need roads, bridges. In some cases, you need dams to help agriculturists, to help farmers, and all the rest to manage their farm and all the rest. And of course, if you have good infrastructure close to them, it makes life easier for them to move their goods from the rural to the urban. And if you look at the theme, it talks about deficit. Said there's no how this infrastructure is an unsung hero in sub-Saharan Africa. And basically, what the summit is doing is trying to open up ourselves to the possibilities of what do we need to do, how we need to do it, what to improve on. And if for those that have been around since yesterday, truly knows that it's not the usual conference. It's a summit, you know. And like one of the speakers was relating its paper to sustainability, to climate change. As engineer, we talk more of design, we talk more of what we need to do. But engineering is going beyond serviceability. We have to talk about sustainability. We have to talk about how to manage the nature, how to appreciate nature, how to ensure that we reduce the effect of this global warming. So, and part of what we have been discussing, or what we have discussed in this summit, is also in relation to that, to global warming. So it has a lot to help us in the urban and also in the rural area.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, back to you, sir. Who are major funders of this project?
Like I said, as in any something, in engineering, we have the Nigerian Society of Engineers, we have the COREN. The Nigerian Society of Engineers is our umbrella body. Here we have the NICE, Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers. They are the basic people, and they are the host of this event under the World Council of Civil Engineers. So, and that's why in my fourth statement, I said, it gladdens my heart that we are having such a conference here in Nigeria through our effort of the Nigerian Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers, and then the World Council of Civil Engineers. This is the first of its kind. And we have Dr. Aisha is our regional representative in the World Council of Civil Engineers in the whole world. So we're happy we have one of our own, and through her effort and the effort of the highway division, the civil engineering division, this conference came to fruition. As we are able to have it today here in Nigeria, in Hasso Hall at the International Conference Center, Abuja. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Sir, on the final one, what do you have to say for our audience and listeners that attended this very important summit?
What I have to say basically is that we need to, like what the World Bank says, that one of the way to bridge infrastructure deficits talks about public and private cooperation. It's not only about a government. As private entity, we also have a role to play, and that's the reason why we always talk about public-private partnership, PPP. And with that, we can improve on our infrastructure and make life better for ourselves. In addition, I also want to solicit that for those infrastructure we have that is existing, it is good we take it as our personal projects, our personal elements or personal belongings, and ensure that those few ones we have, we manage it very well. We ensure we manage those infrastructure very well, and let's kick against vandalism and ensure that we protect those infrastructure we have around us in contributing to our quota, and we will need to also ensure a safer environment by contributing to our quota.
Finally, who do we just speak with?
Engineer Dr. Bola Mudashiru, Fellow of Nigerian Society of Engineers, Fellow of Nigerian Institution of Highway and Transport Engineer. I'm also the National Secretary General of the Institute, and also a member of this Summit Planning Committee of the World Council of Civil Engineers.
All right, thank you. And together with Engineer Saidu Hassan, FNSE, and who is a national chairman of the new Nigerian Institution of Highway of Transportation Engineers. Thank you for joining us at this moment. We say kudos to you people for bringing up this kind of program in Nigeria and the first of its kind in Africa. We say, may the good Lord be with you people. Thank you. Back to the studio. And as you all know, this summit is coming to an end for here in Abuja, the International Conference Center. We shall be wrapping up the live transmission, and we'll join other people on the studio that as we bring forth the next program, which is the questions and answer segment. From the International Conference Center here in ASO Hall, I'm Abubakar Sadiq Kafanchan, and with me is Destiny Wada and our gallant IT students who are here with us currently. I want to thank the studio production engineer Joseph and the management and staff of the Citizen FM, Haja Iftika Abdullahi, Mr. Stanley Bento, and the executive directors of Citizen FM. Thank you, and God bless.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM.
And other people that work day and night reveals that can serve as additive and will prolong the lifespan of our roads. Why am I talking about the long lifespan? Is because the government of every aspect is running away from road construction because of things that are involved. If you have a longer lifespan, then you have a relief. Things like maybe introducing of nanosilica materials, polymers, that can take it long. I am not saying the pavement is the only problem we had. The beddings, the foundations, or the materials involved under are also a problem. If you study the geology of Nigeria, you will discover black cotton soil constituted almost 40% of Nigerian soil, which many engineers don't give it attention during construction. They don't look at it. I will give an example from my own part. I am from Adamawa State. The problematic area between Numan Lamurde down to Yola before, the long-standing problem we had was few years discovered that black cotton soil was properly and comfortably there. If you move from Gombe to Biu down to Borno State, the same problem. Yamal to Debal, Gombe, if you come somewhere around maybe Nasarawa State and down, but black cotton soils are mostly comfortably lie there. We have to give it attention. On this note, I am calling on AISHATU because to me, this is the ultimate body of civil engineers. Not even Koren. I am not abusing Koren or disregarding Koren, please. Get it clear. But AISHATU is our father and our mother. Why not we collaborate with NIPRI to establish a standard laboratory for checking some of the problems we had on our pavements. Problems of revealing, routing, and things like that. Now, AISHATU can do that. It's an established body. We contribute, even if it takes us to increase the annual contribution we do. Within, I'm coming, please. You see, people are running away. People are running away from contribution. But anyway, please, we have to move to a former stage to next stage. People are running away from contribution. But please, lastly, Prof. Mambo, how do we get the papers of yesterday and today and to build on them, please? Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for that contribution. I think he made a general comment. So, but on the paper side, I'm going to answer that later. Thank you. Yes, please, the last questioner.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Once again, it's nice to be here and it's a good gathering. My question goes to the architects. Please, I would like to know, what does these agencies that are ready to help Africa in terms of infrastructural deficit, what do they stand to gain after helping Africa? And like one of the discussants said, Dr. Ali, that most of the problem we have in terms of climate change is not African problem. It's there, I mean, between the US and China, they have the problem and they are making us to pay for what we don't understand, for what we've not cost. No wala. It's a discussion for another day. Then my last, this one is, that's my first question. Then this is like something similar to what Dr. said, is that I think it's high time we move from paper to reality. We are the best presenters in the world. When it comes to paper presentation, Nigerians are very good. There was I had an opportunity to listen to a conference that Nigeria went to present in US and even in Germany. Yeah, it was a sounding applaud. But the reality is back home. Is it that we don't understand? We say civil engineering is the mother of all engineering, and we are the mother of development and development. But it's so sad that even our institutions cannot carry out simple tests again. We can't vouch for the graduates that are being produced day in, day out. Koren has laid emphasis on the certificate, but not on the practicality of it. I think it's high time NICE takes its position. Like he said, I'm not against Koren. We all need Koren. But NICE is, like, I'm surprised that this program does not have anything that relates to NICE and Koren. And this is a guardian of civil engineering. So where is NICE in this program? It's unfortunate. I think something is missing somewhere that I don't understand. We'll get there later, one day, one time. But I think, please, let's get a technical committee that can start with our roads. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. So the last questioner, after this, we are going to close. Otherwise, we will not leave here today. Eh? Okay. So I'll call on Architect Toyib to, it appears most of the questions are directed to you. So please come and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. For the first question about working with the private sector, the mandate of the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa is to work with local governments. So generally we work with only local governments all over, local governments all over the world. Like, I'm just using that term because that's what we're used to here in Nigeria, or cities generally. So we work with only local governments and we don't work with private sector at the moment. That's just simply because that's what our mandate is for now. Maybe in the nearest future, if our mandate goes broader, then we could work with the private sector. Thank you. For the second question about what development agencies tend to gain from helping Africa. Well, I'm not, sorry, unfortunately, I'm not a spokesperson for any of the development agencies, so I can't really speak for any of them. But I mean, if you just write an email to any of the agencies, who will reply officially to you. So I think we'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
We don't have any pending question. Everything has been answered. And For the papers, it will be, it said the ones of yesterday were circulated. If you didn't get it, still ask for it through the chairman, Professor Mambo or Dr. Owevri. And just one thought on this climate change. You know, climate change is a long-time emergency. It's not really an emergency, long-time problem that is coming. And we've been talking about climate change for decades, you know. So I think we should not leave what we are supposed to do today because of problems that will come in future. Africa, we need to develop the continent, and we cannot, because of climate change, hold on to what we are supposed to do or embark on solutions that are not visible for us today. We have to continue to do what we are supposed to do. And the people that cause the problem are the ones that should be mitigating it now. But we need to be on the path of industrialization and development in this continent. Thank you. So I want to use this opportunity to call on Engineer AISHATU ALIYU to come and say thank you to our presenters.
Thank you. Good morning this afternoon. Today, as you all know, it's not for me to stand before you. The whole day is for the technical people. I think maybe that is the reason why the chairman of technical committee could not even call me to the podium to say hi to the delegates. But at the same time, it's okay. We are here for the technical presentation. And most importantly, I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for the passion, dedication that you have for our profession. To be sincere with you, even in the international conferences, it will be very difficult for the presenters to have people after opening ceremony with this number. So I want to thank all of us for your time and the passion. And some of our invited guests that are in our mix, who are not engineers, they are friends to engineers, they are relation to engineers, and most importantly, they are friends and everything to civil engineering profession. As you all know, civil engineering is the mother of all engineering disciplines. Can we all stand and in this hall and give a very good round of applause and to thank Almighty Allah for making you and our parents that were privileged to ask us to go and read civil engineering. We thank you, our Almighty God, and we thank you, all the delegates. Congratulations to all of us. And also, you can all sit, and also, I want to plead to us, engineers, please, at any given time, we should try and know our position in life. We are solution providers. Engineering is life. civil engineering is living. Please, and please know your importance in the society and the whole environment in the world. I congratulate all of us. This program started long before now. For some of you that just step into the hall, it has been educative, very interesting, and I want to believe and plead for all the listeners that we are going to make a very good use of what was presented, well articulated and well presented. We started yesterday as they were presenting. We had the keynote speaker, our past president, Engineer M.ASCE, FNSE, OFR, the former DG of PPP. He was the keynote speaker. And we had 8 other speakers. 4 was fiscal and 4 was virtual. And as you all know, since from the COVID time, you know, as we always say, every advantage has its own disadvantage. Some of our benefits during that COVID, but may the souls of some of our loved ones that could not survive, may their soul rest in peace. But we are left with the new normal, which is the virtual meetings. And we had it, and it was all heard very well. So it's a good thing that we were able to have all our technical papers presented, both fiscal and virtual. And for some of us, or most of us, we should all know this program is not a local program, it's an international program. So we will all, and anytime you are called upon this type of program, you should expect the virtual listening, not only fiscal, because there are a lot of logistics for somebody to be present all the time. So these are one of the differences. So I want to thank you all. As the presenters finish presenting, we appreciate, no matter how, in our own small way, because we cannot be able to pay them for their time and the knowledge that was transferred during this summit. It's only God to pay them fully, but we can still do the little that we can be able to do. For the 2 presenters who are to have 3 today, one could not go through because of the network, maybe from their own ends, but that is notwithstanding. At least 8 out of 9 is A, which is excellent. We had 8 speakers from yesterday to this hour. We only miss out 1, and even that one, nobody can give us F, because we have seen his topic, we have listened to him, and we have even seen his face. So it's a good one. Thank you. For the 2 presenters that we have today, I want to, my friend, this has been my friend for over 30 years, 10 years. He is the president of civil engineers from Ghana, Engineer Joseph Ode. Yes. So, and I said he must be part of this summit physical. He would have been in the United States for concrete something. I've forgotten the topic. But I told him Nigeria is like Ghana. we are the same to leave those people first. Settle us before going there. And he's here since day before yesterday. Yes. And my friend too, from Ethiopia, Engineer Jonas, you can stand up for recognition once more. She presented yesterday too. She's a civil engineer from Ethiopia. Reaching out PM, if I'm not mistaken, just to come and deliver this paper. And some of them, I think maybe he's not around. Anyway, let me not, we have a lot to do. Engineer Joseph, this is an award, a commendation award from the World Council of Civil Engineers in recognition of your continuous support to the development of civil engineering. And today, the 11th August 2023, as one of our guest speakers at the first regional summit of the World Council of Civil Engineers. Congratulations, sir. International partner. Jonas. Doctor.
Prof. Come.
Technical.
Yes.
Professor Mambo.
Okay.
Join them.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, we have another talent in our mix who happened to be a younger brother to my humble self, in a way. We are family friends. I didn't even know that he's the one coming to do this presentation because he came through the Professor Mambo, the technical committee chairman. When I look at the name, I said, this name is familiar. But anyway, let me not disturb myself. Since he's going to present fiscal, I will see him. When I saw him this morning, I said, look, are you the one? He said, yes. I said, why did you know Professor Mambo? He started laughing. I said, as young as you are, he is an architect, and his father is an architect. Very powerful, a renowned, they have a renowned architectural firm in Nigeria from Lagos or Oyo, from Oyo. In fact, we stay in the same place. Yes, and we have been together for long. And you have heard him, you have listened to his presentation. Well done, and congratulations once more. This is a commendation award, but you can still go back and read civil engineering to add to your architectural background. You know, architecture is just a course in civil engineering. Yes, it's a course. Yes. So it's not too late for him. Time is still on his side. Thank you. So this is an award presented to you by the World Council of Civil Engineers in recognition of your support to the development of civil engineering. Congratulations.
Okay, people should join him. Join him.
Yes, we have to join him.
Join him. Is the only people that? Okay. Yes. Jonas. You only join. Why?
You're trying to grab some chairs.
What you know they're carrying us? My chief of staff. You can see wearing double ID. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. And as you all know, as they are presenting, we are appreciating. There are some companies, civil engineering companies, that are behind the scene to the success of all this type of our gathering. And in that case, there is need, as we are celebrating ourselves, appreciating the presenters, we should also appreciate them. Engineer Imran Khan, he has been very, very supportive. He believes in engineering and most especially civil engineering. Trajecta, the managing director of Trajecta, their head office is in Gombe, and they have been active in all our programs. And this summit, they have almost closed down the secretariat. He made it mandatory for all of them to attend this program. And they are here with us. So just like I earlier said, as we are celebrating ourselves, we need to do it all round. Both the presenters, the committee members, and some of our supporters from industries. So this is one of them. Sir, this is an award of excellence to Trajecta Nigeria Limited in recognition of your continuous support to the development of civil engineering in Nigeria. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, office staff.
Wow. Professor Mambo, it's finished.
So,
yes.
So this marks the end of the morning session. We are going to go on a long break where we'll have our lunch and converge here by 2:30. I know we are all here because first of our passion for civil engineering, but also we are here for Dr. ALIYU UMAR. So please, let's try and come around by 2:30 to continue with the rest of the program. Once again, thank you very much for your presence here, for your patience, and for the good time you have spent here. Thank you very much. See you later, 2:30. Please.